MSI 하면 쇼메이커 선수밖에 생각이 안 나는 것 같긴 합니다.
마지막에 좀 못한 것 같아서 그게 좀 아쉽고
이번 MSI 전체적인 경기가 실력적인 면도 그렇고 컨디션적인 면도 그렇고 다 쉽지만 않았던 것 같습니다.
매일 경기 보면서 응원 되게 많이 했는데 고생했다고 일단 말씀드리고 싶고요. 잘 했는데 결과가 아쉬웠던 것 같아요.
아무래도 준우승을 한 거에 대해서는 당연히 아쉽게도 생각하죠. 근데 뭐 어쩌겠어요. 이미 끝났는데.
도화 형이 좀 많이 화난 것 같던데 화 좀 많이 추스리고 우리 경기 때 좀 더 편하게 해줘요.
뭐 MSI 결승 끝났을 때 화 많이 났죠. 화 많이 났는데 그래도 이번에 T1전 이기면서 좀 위로를 받지 않을까 싶어요. 진성아 잘 부탁한다. 화 좀 풀어줘.
와, 쇼메이커 선수 보는데 지리더라고요. 잘하더라고요.
쇼메이커 선수가 많이 성장한 선수라고 생각하고 있고 또 저랑 플레이 스타일도 비슷하다고 생각하고 있어서 재밌을 것 같아요.
허수가 이제 날이 갈수록 디테일이 되게 많이 높아지는 것 같아요. 약간 미드 같은 경우에는 허수랑 비등비등하거나 이길 선수는 별로 없다고 생각합니다. 저.
미드는 그래도 저희 허수가 누가 나와도 다 이겨주지 않을까요?
아유 당연히 이겨야죠. 제가 더 열심히 해야죠.
미드 뭐 저는 믿기 때문에 사영이 형을 주연이랑 믿고 가겠습니다. 저희는 바텀대로 바텀 할 거 하겠습니다.
제가 테디 선수와의 상대 전적이 되게 좋은 걸로 아는데
24대 16, 괜찮네요 나름? 나름 괜찮네요. 고스 만나면은 너무 죽여버리고 싶어가지고 뭔가 급해져요 제가.
왜 그렇게 죽이고 싶은지 모르겠는데 계속 제가 잡아먹도록 하겠습니다.
우리 베스트 형님들 MSI도 갔다 오셨는데 지금 너무 일정이 빡빡하잖아요. 저희한테 2대 0으로 져주시면 너무 감사할 것 같습니다.
그건 좀 힘들 것 같고 다른 팀들 잡으시길 바랍니다. 화이팅!
빨리 상대팀을 만나서 이겨버리고 싶다는 생각, 그냥 동아한테 최근에 많이 져가지고 이번에 좀 이기고 싶은 마음밖에 없습니다.
누구는 꼭 져야 되고 누구는 꼭 이겨야 되는 이 각박한 현실 굉장히 안타깝게 느껴지고요. 상아가 미안한데 이번에도 승리는 우리가 가져갈게.
담원이랑 상대 전적 12대 4라는데 그걸 열심히 준비해서 상승을 뒤집어 볼 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
제가 담원에 들어오고 나서 T1한테 진 적이 없는데 이 기록을 이어서 계속 이기도록 하겠습니다.
최대한 뭐 실수 안 나오게 제 할 거 잘 하고 이겨보도록 하겠습니다. 바텀 라인전.
이번에 쩝디의 캐리어를 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 화이팅.
전통의 SKT 킬러 칸이 돌아왔습니다. 얌전히 목을 빼드시고 저희한테 승리를 넘겨주시면 됩니다. 잘 부탁드리겠습니다.
열심히 준비해서 꼭 이기도록 하겠습니다. 기대해주세요.
Well, there you have it. Some strong words from a lot of the players there, especially Khan. He's always great on trash talk segments, and he's waiting for Dam1, or rather T1, to stick out their necks and give over the victory. We'll see if he can take the first step towards that victory, as I know a lot of people coming into this one are feeling the T1 hype.
Nothing can break Khan's spirit, that's for sure. As he is his usual cheery self. Whereas I think even in that interview, for a lot of the players, Showmaker in particular, you really see the weight that is on the shoulders of these guys that come with being the world champions, right? The reigning world champions. They took a beating in MSI, and even though I think justifiably there was a lot of criticism of Dam1 Kia, also needs to be said, regardless, still it was one win, right? And there were dominant games on both sides. I think RNG won that one deservedly with the amount of mistakes they were making, but we also shouldn't be too quick to declare, oh, Dam1 Kia, you know, these guys are washed up. They're not gonna, because if they come in here and they swap, like they stomp T1 2-0, can you really be surprised?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, right? They're still the team that won Worlds last year, and one performance at a tournament doesn't mean that they're no longer that strongest team. Now, we need proof, right, to change our minds on that fact. And that's why T1 are the challengers coming into this matchup. And of course, as we have mentioned many times here, especially after their first match, they have chosen this roster. Danny has selected this roster. And this is the roster that's going to be playing almost all of the games. That's what he said. And so far, that has been true, right? These 5 guys are coming out here. And to be honest, they're a really scary bunch. I mean, when I look at these 2 rosters going head-to-head, even Canyon, a guy who we used to call the best player in the world, I don't know if he absolutely deserves to be considered the favorite in the jungle matchup here. And in my mind, I think if Showmaker isn't doing some heavy lifting today, this might be a T1 victory.
I'm looking at the form of Beryl. I think that if Ghost and Beryl cease to be a liability, which Beryl in particular was during MSI, there were games where he turned it on, but as a whole, I think we can agree that he didn't have the greatest of tournaments. This team, particularly that mid-jungle duo, I think still has the ability to take it. Canyon, while I think his performance on the meta junglers was not the greatest, simultaneously I feel a lot of those have kind of now fallen, right? And his Rumble did get better at the end. On the other end, T1, clearly they're on. Right, their engines are roaring, they looked incredibly dominant in their first series, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if it's a swift 2-0 victory for Damwon. It could also be a swift 2-0 victory for T1, but they need to get through this man. In my opinion, the best player at MSI.
He was the best player at MSI for sure. I don't think many people are arguing with that, maybe some LPL fans. But you take a look at these numbers and it is pretty hard to argue with, right? This is MSI Rumble and Knockout stage, so including their matchup against RNG, against incredibly strong teams. He was the best in terms of all the stats. He had 6 wins on Zoe as well. A pretty, you know, he wasn't just playing the one champion either. He got wins on multiple champions. The guy had an insane performance over at MSI, and while T1 are powering up, seems like Showmaker is as well. Because a guy that I know Atlas, our fellow co-caster, loves to talk about, big fan of his play, he looked really great in their first performance up against, not against MSI, against Hama Life, and you can see some of the stats here do back that up.
And I think that this matchup, not specifically between mid or jungle, the mid-jungle duo, right? That's going to create so much pressure around the map, and it's going to be such a big impact on whether or not you can win. Because if you can shut down Showmaker, which admittedly is very hard, I think that's the key to victory, right? Considering that, as mentioned previously, Damwon fixed their bot lane issues. We can't have Beryl walking into unwarded rushes when they know opponents are there. Is that the T1 band?
Yeah, apparently. That's a really cool drawing, actually.
Really well done. It's exceptional.
This is like one of the things I miss the most, by the way, the fan signs. Because you just get crazy stuff like that, and you're like, wow.
You don't have to miss them anymore. That's the best part.
We have such talented fans. And DK, Damwon Kia have chosen blue side here. They are the quote-unquote home team for their first matchup against T1. Again, guys, T1 will get to choose first in their next meeting in round 2. And whoever loses gets to choose the side. That's the rules. Probably won't be repeating that too much more, but I know there's a lot of people coming in here for this matchup specifically.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why, Chronicler. Khan is he's not concerned with League of Legends. He's trying to figure out whatever's going on with his hands there, trying to prune them up and ready them to go into this match.
Accidental model moment right there. Great angle. Really got to appreciate that. Interesting fact is that these two lineups haven't actually played yet this year, because obviously this is the old T1 lineup in quotation lines, but the previous lineup they played against was with Elim and Gumeyushi in the first match, and in the second match it was like the rookie squad with Zeus, Owner, and Closer. So these lineups have actually, if you know, permit the Nogari Khan swap, have not faced each other for a really long time. And I remember that previous series, even with the quote-unquote weaker lineup that lacked synergy, which was one of the big problems of T1 in spring, still looked incredibly competitive. And this was when Damwon Kia was just generally in pretty good form. So the stage is set for an amazing series between these two.
Yeah. I'm just looking at all the faces of everybody here. I feel like the people who look the most focused and like the pressure is on was actually Teddy and Beryl.
Yeah.
Those are the two players where I'm like, these guys are ready to go. And to be honest, I feel like in Beryl's case, it makes sense, right? There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of people talking, he wants to prove everybody wrong.
Very good.
And Teddy's very happy.
We like to see that.
But they're blue side.
Well, yeah, but that's okay, right? Like
there are so many power picks, right?
Exactly. If you don't want to first pick the Gwen, I think that's fine. I think that even yes, very good Damwon Kia. Okay, this is setting the stage for good stuff. Already targeting out one of the strongest power picks in general in the Gwen, and the Ezreal, while I believe also being one of, if not the strongest AD carry. Also insane on Teddy in particular. The Kench ban will take away the threat of the Senna by a large margin. You can still combine the Senna, Damo and Kia. Themselves are known for, you know, flexing it up a little bit, but the strongest combination is gone. And we saw, again, last game, how good Tom Kench is at shutting down specific team comps, as the Lee also taken away. Nocturne still available, Gnar still available. So many of these power picks are always going to come through because that's just too much.
Yeah, there's so much you have to consider in this day and age, in this meta. And it seems like those are the three champs they don't want to really play here. I like the targeting of the Ezreal, as you mentioned. The Lee Sin, I feel like that could have been something they could have played themselves, you know, a good first pick.
I'd say
definitely flexible, but it seems like not today, at least, as no ban from T1. I doubt that was on purpose, as Lucian is going to be the first pick here for Damo.
Yeah, you gotta imagine that would have been, I think Udyr also could have been on the list. Lucian would not have been surprising whatsoever with how strong the pick is at the moment. That's never good. Hopefully T1 can move on from that quickly, not get caught up in that, because of course the time that you have in the draft is so short, right? Like, there's a reason why this timer is on. It's to force decisions, it's to really create the pressure, and can't really get caught up as the Kalista has been opened. Teddy is one of the very few players, of course, the archetypical example of this is Ruler, where you can play the Kalista for early, mid, and late game. The champion does everything, and Carrier's insane champion pool is great, and I really hope they don't go for support early here, because then you can go for R4, R5, the Nico, then remains a possibility.
The Pike.
Exactly, that as Damwon, you kind of need to draft around. And it's something that T1 really likes to do, so a lot of flexibility with Cuz. Actually, in my opinion, being the best Rumble that we've seen here so far in the LCK. I think Canyon got better at it, but he didn't really wow me yet.
And as you mentioned, they don't really care if he ban away the Tom Kench. They're still very much willing to pick the Senna. Does it fall a little bit in power? Perhaps, but Ghost is an incredible Senna player. Almost every team at MSI as well, I think, was banning Senna against Ghost. Like, nobody was letting him play this, and Ghost looked really excited when T1 did leave that available for him.
And now the opportunity does arise for T1 to ban out a bunch of junglers here on the second rotation and take away like all the real power picks. This is going to be a blind Gnar. You're of course assuming that the set is going to be a support pick for Barrier because it combines really, really well with the Senna. The combination of Facebreaker into the root is really good. Set loves brawling, loves the sustain that Senna provides him. And honestly, sign ban. Get in here. I'm calling it now because I think that if you but especially with a double marksman lineup with an incredible amount of sustain from the Senna, I think if you provide this team with some actual front line, it becomes so hard to play. So Ornn, you know, maybe Ornn is not as strong a champion, I think. Khan also not as necessarily as comfortable on it, but if you don't ban the sign, pretty sure that's going to be what comes out here from T1. But then, do you want to maybe ban the Zoe? You know, Showmaker Zoe is always a threat, and it's a hard one. It's not easy for T1 to, because DK is still giving themselves a lot of leeway here.
Yeah, well, it seems like they first want to target this jungle pool, and the Nidalee here for Canyon will be taken off the board. It's an AP jungler, one of the ones that is left. So what else are they going to take away here? You mentioned many different options, but I'm curious to see kind of where their mind lies. It'll be Udyr, which was also left up.
As expected, taking away some of the power picks. And I think in Italy is also a read from T1 that set might not be support, and it might actually go on top side because the set in Italy obviously not as good as the Renekton in Italy, but it can do similar things where you lock someone down and kind of go from there, as the Leona taken away here. And of course, I think known T1 probably an R5 support counter pick for Carrier here.
For Carrier.
I mean, you started it, and now I got to run with it, you know.
Yeah,
it's on you, really, Valdez.
They're just a combination. It's like the Power Rangers, except there's only two of them.
Ooh, I like this a lot more. This is lovely because technically there's still flexing potential here. I expect it to be a Gregor support because it synergizes incredibly well with the Kalista, but you could go into a situation where you go for the mid-rumble, you go for Kaz's Gregor's in the jungle, right? Which is not something we've seen in quite a while, but it's a possibility. I'm not the biggest fan of the Diana. I feel like the champion has not really wowed me yet, but it looks like they are going to lock that in. Has been generally decently high pro when the main wave of junglers is banned out, and you do have a lot of AP or AD damage rather available, right? So it makes a little bit of sense. No.
Just no. Okay, the Jace is going to come in here, and Khan giving a nice big flex. I think we know where that Jace is going. As TF, the consideration here. But will he go for the cannon? Don't think so. Victor is what they hovered before. And it is a decent amount of magic damage, but I think it's okay to go ahead and pick this up. You have some really nice range, some nice burst, but instead it is going to be a change to the Akali last second, as that should be Faker hopping onto that pick.
I was about to say, the Victor is a pick you'll be okay with as a T1 fan, but you won't be excited about it.
Yeah.
Faker on Akali, you will get excited about. Akali has had some bonkers performances already. Low King Lava, comes to mind, but there have been plenty of really good Akali performances already, and we're, 3 days into the tournament, so the pick is quite strong. Has also been banned a bunch of times. However, I do think into the Lucian, the early game is going to be pivotal. If Showmaker can find a big lead there, it's going to make Faker's life so much harder, and while he'll have all-in potential, that top side from T1 is not amazing. That in conjunction with the fact that there's not that much CC for Cuz, makes me favor DK's composition. However, if they fall behind, if the hard engage is too much, can still be a decisive victory for T1.
Yeah, definitely can. Like the scrappy comp here from Damwon, certainly overloaded with the amount of damage, especially physical, that can come out from this lineup. Curious to see how Canyon will pilot the Diana. As you mentioned, it's been a little bit lackluster so far, but this is Canyon we're talking about. We'll see if he can get ahead on this pick.
And for me, the big question is, do we get to see peak Damwon? Because if this is peak Damwon, these picks are amazing. Canyon is the sole AP source, so he can actually, once he gets fed, once he gets enough farm, solo carry the game from the jungle position, which we know he loves to do. And Barrel and Hard Engage support used to be amazing. Is it going to be enough? I don't know, Valdez.
Seems like fan chants are canceled all across the board. I thought maybe it was just for the first series, but no. Even the Damwon and T1 fans were not allowed.
The sadness.
We'll get them eventually, but not today.
Not today.
Instead, we get Insane League of Legends. We could add both, but
I was about to say, like, those two are not mutually exclusive,
Yeah. Well, this is going to be pretty interesting to see. We've seen Lucians in the LCK just do disgusting things. I mean, just remembering Chovy and what he was able to do on this pick, kind of single-handedly carry Showmaker at times, can be insane on this pick. And Showmaker, the guy that we mentioned, the one guy who really had consistent performances throughout, the end of spring into MSI. He's the guy that plays it, so maybe he can kind of put everybody in his backpack and run to the finish line.
It's a distinct possibility, and I think that, as you already pointed out, the Damwon Kia comp excels when it can skirmish, when it can find these 2v2s, just blow someone up, right? That's basically going to be your game plan. However, as you get later into the game, although the lockdown isn't amazing, there's still plenty of opportunity for the T1 lineup to find consistent team fights. They're not showing anything here. Might look for some free damage. No. No, they decide not to. Minions are more important, and I think that's a good call coming through.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting, too, because Set, you talked about Beryl and his form, right? Everybody just knows over at MSI that there were times where he was just getting way too over-aggressive. He was caught out of position, and the really strong teams over at MSI took advantage of him pretty much every single time. And Set is one of those champions as well, that you really need to be in the face of your opponents and be very annoying. You have to be making plays, which can lend yourself to being caught out.
That's an absurd win. Oh, that's an even more absurd win. Right? Okay, well, we are just... that's what happens when you get some of the best teams in the league duking it out. You get stats that are just insane. And personally, I'm a firm believer in that you should never ever allow Ghost to have Senna, and that has generally worked out well. However, this early on, Teddy and Kerry are making really good use of the threats of that lane. And as we can see, Faker has gone for the fleet footwork, really understandable considering the matchup. You're just looking to sustain as much as you possibly can. And you're not going to look for elongated trades like you would with a Conqueror. Not a very fun matchup early on.
Yeah, it's just Lucian things, especially against a AP melee kind of champion. You're going to be poked out a lot. Yep. It's really rough. And speaking of win rates, this is one, much like Teddy's win rate, where it's like, this guy has played 40 some odd games, right? Same with Gon. 35 games total, 80% win rate. Easy peasy. It's definitely not easy peasy though. It's incredibly hard to pull off as Cuz is looking for a gank, and you see Canyon was kind of scouting in the enemy jungle but does not spot him here. And Khan jumps in, the perfect time to get baited. Although he is really fast on the Jace and he kind of just laughs at the Rumble, but here comes the slow out of the Gnar. Probably gonna force a flash here from Khan. Here's the follow-up from Kana. And now it should just be running down the Jace from here on out. The flash available for Cuz, and that is an easy cleanup. First blood took a little bit, but they got the job done.
Tragic timing, and it's the feeling of safety that Khan had there because Canyon was in the vicinity. Canyon warded, they didn't see anything, right? And there was not really any information given as to where Cuz had started. And yeah, that creates an opportunity. He basically sneaks in, and he's immediately back now with the teleport also being used. No vision available. Khan dies there again. Yeah, he warded. He did. And they know he warded the brush. So I think Khan is going to be fine at this time, but that's still a great start here for Cuz, and it's something that's necessary because if you just let Damonkia freely use their priority, we know what happens, right? Like, they'll get Canyon ahead, they'll start invading you, and they're never going to let you back into the game.
We've seen that many times before. And, you know, while Canyon was power farming, he has opened up a nice little lead here for himself. About 4 camps ahead, he got both scuttles, so at least for himself, he's feeling pretty good. We're going to take a look here at the replay. That does come in, of course, no vision. Khan jumps in right at the time when the gank does come off.
And it's an elongated chase, but there's not that much you can do as Khan. Running towards the turret doesn't really get you anything. Then Kana will definitely get that final auto, and you're just going to die as well. Not a lot to be gotten there. However, push comes to shove, he didn't really lose out on a lot of experience, a lot of creeps, so he's still able to do just fine, maintain his lead, and it's mainly a question of whether or not Cuz can leverage this kill into more pressure around the map. And meanwhile, we see the T1 bot lane getting the better hand of that matchup, I think, as to be expected. Really pressuring well. The Kalista, of course, insanely strong in a situation like this, and it's also, as Beryl, either you all in or you don't do anything at all, right? Because a Kalista, if you go for an elongated trade and you don't actually hit her, it's just pretty much over.
Yeah.
They're going to wait out here and go for a possible dive. Here's a possibility. Canyon going to hit 6 of this wave.
You know, I think it might just be to keep Khan safe, because the lane was frozen there by Kana. He's been talking to LS a little bit, you know. Makes sense, around the same team. But, you know, it was really nicely pulled the lane into a position where the Jace has to step up. The threat of a gank is apparent, right? But really nicely read here by T1. They're just going to go for the Drake. The Diana up on the top side of the map, then going for the back. This is pretty free for the side of T1 now.
It's a nice start. As mentioned previously, as we can hear Rumble shout loudly, as he likes to do with this skin. A lot of verbal agreement on what he's doing, so we all know at all times what Rumble is up to. It's really, really nice of him. And if we look at this early Drake, I don't think T1 necessarily needs it. As said before, I think they actually do have a lot of pressure as we get further into the game if they can maintain even footing and not fall too far behind. But it gives you so much more leeway, right? In case that the rest of the map goes a little bit rough, a couple of skirmishes don't work out, you still buy yourself so much more time, which against a team like Damonkia might very well be necessary.
Yeah, it does feel pretty necessary. The mid lane here, Faker, you know, getting some levels. He did go for the pen boots, magic pen boots, so Pretty interesting to see as well. Doesn't go for the plated steel caps against the Lucian. He has fallen behind a bit, and Showmaker has a call. It's just the way it's gonna go, guys. That's kind of what Lucian does.
You know that as you go into the matchup. Also, no arm guard, as you're saying. I think the benefit of the Sorcerer Shoes is that your all-in potential, not just on Lucian, but on anyone, is a lot more threatening than it would be with a more defensive option. But it does mean you're probably going to have to sacrifice a couple of creepies left and right. Doesn't feel great, but what you going to do about it? Unfortunately, not that much. However, due to Kana now feeling a little bit more comfortable, you know, he's found himself the plated steel caps that you mentioned earlier, and he's feeling good.
Okay, well, Damwon just saying this Herald is ours. They're going to just straight up go for it here. They have the prio in the the mid lane and the top lane, so just easily able to come together right when this thing spawns. And there's no vision really on it, right? It was denied by the control ward here, so even if they had a suspicion or if they saw people running into that, it was going to be difficult for T1 to challenge. That will be the Rift Herald going to Damwon.
And there's got to be a point where I think the second Drake might be the breaking point, where we're gonna have to see T1 take some team fights. Because that is what they want to do with this composition. There is so much raw team fighting power in a combination of the Gnar, right, into a Rumble ultimate. There's the Gragas that can provide amazing engage and with the help of the Fade Skull also get out fairly easily. And yet again, might be setting up a trap here. Kana purposefully playing really far forward. Yeah, I mean, Kenyon is there.
Yeah.
It's a double bait.
Who's baiting who?
It's a good question.
Who's gonna back first?
He has no Naba, right? And back.
Yep.
Yeah. No jungler does anything in the end.
Yep. Khan showing some presence there in that lane, so they just want to be safe. They're just gonna back away on that one. This mid lane, not much to talk about here, mostly just farming. And Lucian getting ahead, that's kind of what happens. T1 with the nice start with the Infernal and the kill. But other than that, I mean, some of these CS deficits with the strong lane picks that Damwon did go for, they open up the Rift Herald as well. So in terms of the golds, DK definitely going to enjoy a nice little lead here.
However, I don't think it necessarily translates into big item leads. And that's really what we're going to be looking towards. Showmaker going for a really interesting pickup here in the Hex Drinker. Assume he's not going to finish that, just going to sit at it, use the available magic resist that it gives him. And if we look at the T1 lineup, the mid-jungle duo is double AP, right? So the value that you get from the Hex Drinker is amazing, and with Showmaker wanting to play as far up as he is, it might provide you just those couple of seconds to wait for, say, Canyon to come in if you do get ganked.
Yeah, I mean, Lucian's going to shell out insane damage anyway, right? And having that survivability to just do more of it might actually allow you to sustain in the fight, and then in terms of a longer fight, be able to do more damage. So I do like the pick alongside of what you mentioned. Beryl and Ghost playing pretty safe down on the bottom side. We saw Beryl actually, you know, from a distance trying to smash the CS and not really get in the face of Carrie and Teddy. So just trying to show as much respect as possible, which does lead to a distinct lack of action so far.
You mean we've been treated to classic LCK games? Yeah,
today, that's I don't know what it is, but today has been that. We've been going down that line.
We have. And Nashor's 2 is finished. Kana doesn't have the Naba available because he's in the general vicinity.
Okay, trying to go for a trade here. Kana gets way out of position and just gets dunked. That was a strange one, not gonna lie. I mean, even if Canyon isn't there. And that's going to mean that the equalizer comes out here and Cuz is just desperately trying to survive. It's going to be the plate going over to Khan. And a very big opening up of the top lane here in favor of Damwon.
And it's classic Damwon Kia to not just throw down the Herald. I think they're looking for... there we see Canyon. You know, the moment that Cuz finishes that back, Canyon goes back up. And
nope. Okay.
I was about to say, like, if they don't send anyone to the top side, that might be a first turret bot with the Herald. Is almost timing out though, so they actually need to place it sometime soon. Presumably going to be in mid lane, and then maybe leverage that into some pressure onto that Ocean Drake. Because it's timing out.
He went to go do the Gromp and my heart rate increased. I'm like, sir?
It's calculated,
yeah.
You know? Perfect timing.
Look at this,
wait,
like
hits the turret.
2 seconds left. Just drop it down. and they put it down in the other lane where they have priority, in the mid lane. That's going to be Showmaker gobbling up some of that gold as well, alongside of Canyon. Things are looking pretty good. Now, T1 are definitely putting pressure on the Drakes, looking to take the second one in the ocean. And with the amount of pressure that was put in the top and the middle lane, doesn't look like Dalmon's here to fight over.
Understandably, I think as Damwon, the third Drake is really the one where it gets interesting as the Mountain Soul comes through. And I always like to you know, look and see which team benefits more from the Rift, especially when with Ocean and particularly with Cloud, it's generally not as interesting, but Mountain is so nice. If you're a Rumble, if you're a Gnar, extra walls always make you really happy. Meanwhile, on the other end, DK also has plenty of AoE damage, but that wall stun, you know, into a possible Rumble ultimate at choke point, it's got to feel good for T1. And this match, even though it's a 2k gold lead for Damwon Kia, still very much in the realm of manageable.
What is going on up there? Oh, Faker's able to land that shuriken, but he's not going to go for the second R and get in the face underneath the turret. Still flash available for Showmaker. And there is just a squad of people up in the top side. And you're giving away turret plates in the bottom lane.
No, the plates are gone. That's just the turret gone. That's just that's first turret blood. I was talking about a manageable gold lead. If you give turrets for free in an attempt to take down Khan and not really get anything else out of it, right? Herald is going to spawn, so I assume that they're going to be able to get that. But not the greatest call there by T1, and allowing Damwon Kia to maintain his strong lead now up to 3k means that your next fights are going to be way harder, even with a strong teamfight composition that you have. And it's going to mean that your execution needs to be that much crisper.
Yeah. There's always those critical moments of the game that we return to in the highlights, right?
Again,
we're going to see the top side where Kana dies and they get pressure up there. We're going to see the Rift Herald dropped in the mid lane, and all of a sudden, everybody goes to the top lane, and then a turret is given over for free. This is a massive lead already for Damwon, and yes, T1 have the 2 Drakes, but it's looking pretty good already with 2 turrets down here in Damwon's pocket.
It's feeling more like vintage Damwon, where they get a lead and then they get more leads and then they just kind of snowball those leads indefinitely. As Faker threatening a little bit there. See the gold lead being expanded, and as Damwon Kia, I think you're really happy with this. I think the next Drake fight is the first must-get objective. If you give up this Rift Herald, completely fine. I don't think you're really too bothered by it, as Barrow is just going to match Faker here. We'll have the Iron Spike whip to do some damage, but it doesn't really want all-in. And a Carling, generally not the greatest idea, especially considering the fact that he doesn't have his Mystic Finish. As Kana, you got caught before.
Oh, that was shot glass actually thrown underneath the ground. As you mentioned, you know, the rotation that does come in. This does net the second Rift Herald over the side of T1. So they're putting pressure on the top lane turret. They're getting the second Rift Herald. It's not as good as the first one, but it's something. We'll see what they can get done with that. It doesn't look like even Barrel's going to stick up in the top side to eat waves anymore. Damwon just going to give up this top turret.
And again, another turret gonna get taken here. And I said vintage Damwon, and the reason why is because it's continuously these trades, but there comes the engage.
All right. No. Yep, that's it. Yeah. All right.
Not bad.
that's all I had to say, guys.
I forgot I was in the LTK.
Showmaker is just standing up to this one, has to dash away. That's a lot of damage coming out from Cuz. There's one guy who wants to really turn up the heat. Sorry, that was a bad pun.
No, I'm not going to
couldn't control myself.
No, that's okay. It's okay, Valdez. You know, we appreciate you just the way you are.
Yeah.
And if you want to make that pun, then you are more than welcome to. No one can take it away from you. Proto Belt now finished, and let's take a look at these item spikes, because this next fight, if T1 win it, their map pressure becomes much harder to deal with, because every subsequent 5 minutes there's a must-win fight for Damwon Kia. Given over a Mountain Soul is going to make it a lot harder for their very bursty composition to find a target and blow it up. And generally across the board, it's just the Mythics in case of the Diana, the Nashor's 2 finished. And neither team having a really big lead, although generally Damwon Kia having a couple of extra components by the virtue of their 3k gold leads. And it's the setup here that's important. If you can get enough poke as Damwon Kia, the fight is basically won before it's fought, but otherwise, it's still possible based on good execution. If they find backline access against T1, going to be a really hard-fought victory for them.
I just love watching Khan play Jace. The control he has over this champion and the confidence that he has, he's just able to output so much insane damage. We're very blessed over here at the LCK to have some insane Jace players.
Oh yeah.
And we'll see what he's able to do here in this one, as we do have the Drake spawning up now. I like the route that Canyon takes, very safe. Knows the potential of Faker to get on in there. He's really getting in there, but the Senna ultimate does come out. Canyon now looking to take the fight to Faker, who ults away, and now he's just gonna die. Fails the flash as well. The Faker is all alone, and now Keria trying to spare the blushes, trying to get something going here. And they should be able to catch Canyon eventually, and finally they do, but now T1 kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Nice ultimate here from Kana, but Beryl gets a huge shield to survive against all of that damage. So now T1 is on the run. Beryl gets in there and a perfect body slam comes out from Keria, but Kana's doing such insane damage, and the flashes come through for the double kill of Khan. And now they're looking for Teddy. The root will come down. Showmaker's gonna lose a fight to Kana, but it's still a one fight to the way of Damwon. Ghost on full health after that one.
Incredible skirmish here from both teams. That Keria body slam might have saved T1 because Faker, as you said, going really aggressive, but Canyon is ready. And let's not forget, when Diana was meta a while back before jungle clear got so good, it was because she was so good against other assassins, right? The survivability that she has, strong in itself, let alone with a Sentinel band. The action hasn't stopped yet.
Kana's all alone. He's so dead. Nowhere for him to go. And not sure what he was even doing there, to be honest. Maybe checking the Drake, but they were definitely doing the Drake. So that's a bonus kill, I suppose, given over as well.
Bit iffy. That one was very unnecessary. But as I was saying, it's the... I really hope... I don't know if it's the time for a replay, considering the amount, and we just saw the first half, but the second half of the fight was actually way more interesting.
Yeah.
Because T1 leveraged the amount of resources and the split team by Damwon that Faker created, even though obviously him dying there very suboptimal, to still kind of strong-arm their way into making something work, right? Because when you look here, you can see, sure, Showmaker dies, but one half of Damwon is on the top side, and T1 recognizes this with a beautiful engage from Keria. Cross throws down a really important equalizer here to completely prevent them from walking through that choke point. And in the end, it's a constant back and forth. The sustain from the Senna is just too nuts,
Look
right?
at this body slam.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
If that doesn't happen, I think the fight is just over here. They get 3-4 more kills, and you don't trade nearly as evenly. The fact that Kana dies here later really puts kind of a damper on the whole situation. Would have been much better in terms of trade. Yeah, it's a scuttle.
So he's greening over the scuttle. That's what's going on.
And he doesn't have hop, because otherwise he would have just hopped over the wall. So that's really, yeah, that's not what you want, because up until that point, sure, you lose the Drake, but you trade evenly in kills, you maintain kind of item parity, but now, in the end, the trade isn't good enough, the Dragon goes over to Damwon, the gold lead grows, and now every subsequent fight as T1 becomes a lot harder, but you also see in that fight the glimpses of what this T1 comp can do.
Yeah. It wasn't a very, set up 5v5 either. It was like Faker goes in, everything's kind of like torn apart. It wasn't your traditional 5v5. So maybe they heard us making fun of, traditional LCK style with the 2 kills in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they really opened it up. Faker really trying to push the issue, but maybe a little bit too much in that one. You can see he is, even though that was an unfortunate death, he still is incredibly strong. He's level 14 right now, and a couple of items under his belt. So we'll see if maybe he can be a little bit more efficient in the next one. The Mountain Drake did go over to Damwon, still enjoying a 4,000 gold lead at this point in time.
And unlike the previous Senna that we saw, Ghost has gone for the Glacial Augment, which still very standard, haven't really talked about that. The Divine Sunderer, also an item that Senna loves. It has really good synergy with her Q, the on-hit procs just do so much damage. It's kind of an Ezreal situation. And then also, like that Ghost is opting into lethality, is Khan
boy.
probably dead.
Khan is just dead. He's trying to put out as much damage as possible, but Faker just puts him in the dead zone. Nar gets in there, gets an auto attack, so he nets himself an assist. Nicely done, Kana.
It's got to be done.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I mean, the Sakali, you know, he was a little bit awkward in that last fight, but he's still able to do some insane damage.
And this might provide an opportunity for T1 to take some control of the top half of the map, because something that Damwon Kia has been very diligent about is choking T1 out of vision and never giving the actual opportunity to go in and get something going. That's very optimistic. You do have a lot of sustain with the Senna available, but they know this is here, and they're not going to risk it, which I think is great. It's one of those situations where you can start it without getting punished, and then if they actually are there, you're like, okay, never mind. We respect you enough to not do that. As 2 item spikes coming around now for most. You already mentioned Faker has hit his, Cuz is getting close. Kana now also has the Starix finished, and
Showmaker saw the ward over the wall. I mean,
he's alone.
He's just up here alone by himself. He is 1v4. He is surviving for quite a long time, but this guy should eventually die, trying to do a little bit of damage to Cuz there, but will just give over the Dark Harvest stack to that Rumble.
And this is pivotal because I don't know if Showmaker is going to be in time for a possible play on this Mountain Drake, and that will give T1 Soul Point. They're not going to go for the Baron, which I personally prefer. I'd rather see them go for the Drake, but it looks like they want to go for the Big Un, as they're kind of deciding. There is a lot of vision, and in the end they do decide to march down towards that bot side. The poke is there for Damwon Kia, and Showmaker will teleport available up in 15 seconds.
Yeah, just posturing here in the mid lane, trying to get pressure here, pushing the lane, and then go down to the Mountain Drake, you would imagine. And really not much vision around this Drake here for Damwon. Damwon able to push up, though. A little bit faster than T1. T1 are trying to get position here onto this objective. DK say, okay, we're going for Baron. Showmaker gonna step it up here. He TPs up, and they're gonna force T1 to respond to this Baron take. Carria's looking to get in there. Oh, another huge engage! Carria, what are you doing today? What did you have for breakfast? He is making T1 win this game. Somehow, some way. Kana's able to flash in there. Doesn't really get the stun off, though. And now Showmaker is doing some kiting down here. Kana going a little bit too far forward. And now everybody on the side of T1 is flashing away. Carria, he's got some rocks in his backpack today, not able to do it all by himself. And Damwon will be able to take down the Baron.
What a masterful fight by Damwon Kia. This is the team that we saw win Worlds last year, and this is the team that was kind of missing him aside. We saw glimpses of them, but the amount of damage that is soaked there by Barrel is absolutely insane. And if they can also grab this Drake...
Oh, they didn't know about this TP, I guess. Teddy had no idea, and oh man.
Come!
And now this TP is coming in. Faker trying to spare the blushes of his team, and Khan just says, no, thank you very much. We'll take the Baron and the Drake and your lives. And that just might be game number 1 for DK. I mean, they're stomping him now.
And I think that is, all of a sudden, that might just be game. That engage from Carria was beautiful, but I don't think we'll have the time for a replay, because if I'm not mistaken, Damwon Kia can at the very least push for the inhibitor and possibly more here, Valdez.
Yeah, I mean, they're really gearing up here. And there's not much that Carria and Kana can do alone. So that is going to be the inhibitor going down. 26 minutes in, so the death timers aren't insane at this point in time. So they're not going to go for more. Just take that one. But they're still in such a comfortable position now after all that. And it looks like Khan's Jace win rate might be reaching new highs.
And here is what we saw earlier, right? This is a beautiful engage from Carria. The immediate fate's call, but thanks to the flash from Ghost, really the only person they get...
I don't know what's going on. Like, Damwon have been having a really clean, dominant game, but they've also been caught like 3 times. 3 different players. I don't really know why that's happening, but it's a thing. Call it the MSI hangover.
Let's call it that. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. As Khan, yeah, this is just...
They had no idea either.
You mentioned his Jace, right? He's a 3-level lead. There's nothing that Cuz can do here, and that teleport, like the moment you press that button, like, oh man, oh no.
if they knew, they were just sacrificing their life to try to burst down the dragon. Like,
yeah, as Beryl does get caught here, and I gotta agree with you. I don't think that you should ever teleport there. I think that you know that the rest of Damonkia is beelining for it, and it's a spur of the moment thing, so it's best not to dwell on it. But I think by the time the teleport was channeled, Khan had basically already killed both of them, right? And the health bars were low. If you do that, maybe immediately go for the TP if that was available. I'm not sure what the situation for Faker was, but now Damonkia, they can balloon this gold lead and make this game infinitely harder for T1 to play because, well, theoretically, T1 still have an absurdly strong wombo combo and see how willing they are to pull the trigger. With 2 Mountain Drakes and a lead like this, it becomes so much harder.
Coming in now, 12 seconds on the Baron buff, looking to get a little bit more off the top. And not gonna... Okay, they're letting the cannons do the job, basically. As the last couple of shots will come in. They're still very far ahead and strong, so even without the Baron buff, looking to chip away at the inhibitor. But not taking any chances here is Dominic. You see, very careful about how they step forward.
And they need to respect the engage, do spot them there. And as you said, Damonkia, they have been called out a couple of times. They're really far ahead. This game is almost in the bag, but you've got to be careful. You've got to stay respectful because T1 has already shown that they will hard engage on you if they see an opening. And Carry has the flash available again.
Carry is trying desperately to solo carry this one, but he can't. And I think Domon are respecting him more than anything else. But yeah, that's going to be a second inhibitor that does go down. And about 7,000 gold in the lead. So just going to go ahead with that one. They got a couple of Mountain Drakes. We got a third one spawning in a minute and a half. We'll be looking for that. And really the strongest person on the side of Dawan actually ends up being Khan, I guess, after all the kills he was able to scoop up after the dragon fight, right?
This is, you know, the classic caster move where you're like, I would really like to see Khan on Sion, and then he, like, gets Jace,
yeah.
and has, like, a 90% kill participation and is, like, single-handedly carrying team fight. Like, okay, Khan, okay, sorry for mentioning the Sion.
Are we going back in? I suppose we are. Showmaker's just dead, but now Khan gets angry, gets in the face of them. He flashes the wall, and the stopwatch is so beautiful as well, but he will go down. This is such a messy fight that's coming in here, as Ghost is left alone on the left side as well, but Damwon are winning the right, as Faker will survive. But he is all alone. Finally, Kana does make his way over Beryl, trying to frontline here for Canyon, but Canyon a little bit too behind the wall. Faker incredibly scary at the same time, and Damwon just buying some time for the minions to push in.
Look at the base. Base is going down.
Okay, well, Faker is he's trying to flash in, looking for that kill, and he will be able to pick it up. Beryl actually not able to find the Akali. And okay, nicely dodged there, but the Shuriken doesn't land, and Kana should be able to pick up the kill anyway. Really nicely fought here at the end of it all, as 2 more kills will go to the side of T1.
It's not over just yet, Val. This T1 are not letting go of this one. Might be able to pick up a Drake here as well if they can hurry their way over. One does go down, and this is the rewards for the play earlier, but Carrier yet again, and Showmaker getting a little bit over eager here, really chasing. I think as soon as the Fate's Call is used, you have to back out immediately, but doesn't get the opportunity because he used the relentless pursuit to dash in, which we've seen many a time is not great. Khan plays this fight beautifully because he buys so much time, which allows Canyon and Beryl to actually take down Teddy into his Guardian Angel. He will die shortly thereafter, but Faker, he's level 16, right? He's been able to get up his ultimate, and even though he doesn't have the sustain that you would traditionally have with an Akali at this point in time, this just beautifully played here.
Yeah, really nice use of the Shroud as well, saves it for exactly this moment. He's not quite able to land that Shuriken, but it doesn't matter because Kana's here. He's able to finish the job. Now we return to live. It's 13-12 in the kills. Damwon still pretty heavily in the lead here with the Baron up. You can see they're threatening this with their huge amount of Baron damage that they have with this composition.
And it's understandable. They can also do it with relatively low risk thanks to the sustain that Ghost provides. They have a very tanky Beryl. So gonna feel good about that. Baron does get started up here. T1, they need to walk into unwarded territory. They can't really afford to. If anyone dies here, Kia can just run up to that final inhibitor turret and basically immediately blow them up. So they need to just kind of let it go. They need to give up this Baron buff and hope that they can win a subsequent team fight, because unless you get a clean 5v5, and you can't do that unless you know where everyone is, you can't walk into the jungle like that. I don't think T1 has a shot.
Yeah, it's looking pretty rough at this point in time. But we'll see how this game does go. There have been some really nice individual super plays in this game. I wouldn't call this the cleanest game of League of Legends I've ever seen, though. Feels like both sides are really trying to flex a little bit and limit test. Not in the literal sense of the word, but really trying to make the plays here.
I am kind of happy that, as I expect of two teams of this caliber, is that it feels like no territory is taken for free. Both these two teams, the moment that you step an inch too far forward, they will just flash engage on you. And that is something that I think the top teams have shown in the LCK, so I'm really happy to see these two do it. But I hope the rest of the LCK kind of comes along. Dawes gets taken real low.
Lucian, fun champion, especially when this far ahead against some squishy targets.
They have Baron buff.
Yeah. Baron buff makes this building destruction a little bit easier as well. We are just pushing in. The TP is coming on in, and this is Faker, but they're looking for the kill onto the Gnar, who's about to hit Mega Gnar. Can he actually do anything? A big stun into the wall, and they're looking for Showmaker, but he will survive the flash away, and Faker is not able to pick up the kill onto this Lucian. Cousin Teddy getting some crazy damage done on the left side, but T1 just a little bit too far behind and not able to make it count, as Kia will take down that final turret, and they will take down the first Nexus of the series, but not before they take out Cuz to pad their stats.
And that's the more of Mamortius value right there. And what a game. This is setting up for a beautiful series here, Valdez, with the amount of pressure that comes through for Kia being